It was supposed to be the perfect summer. I was going to camp out, build forts, have adventures, and score the championship-winning goal in the New England All-Star Under-12 soccer tournament. When I wasn't doing those things, I was going to stay up late with my friends, eat as much junk food as I wanted, and pretty much do whatever I felt like until 6th grade started in September. It was going to be epic. The all-time best summer ever. Instead, I ended up in Boring, Illinois. No, I'm not kidding. There's a town called Boring, and it is. How did this happen? I asked myself that question on the way to the airport in Boston, on the plane, and on the drive to Uncle Gary's house, which was actually just outside Boring, so I guess technically it was almost boring, and was still asking myself that question early on the afternoon I arrived, while Uncle Gary showed me how to use the educational software he had developed. You guessed it. I was having summer school on a computer. Uncle Gary's program was called Summer's Cool. And if you think that's funny, don't laugh. You might be next. Now, click here to start, Brian, said Uncle Gary, leaning over me and breathing stinky coffee breath into my airspace. The screen in front of me showed subjects like language arts, math, science, social science, and art listed on a chalkboard in handwriting that was supposed to look like a little kid's. Why do grown-ups think all kids make their R's backward? And why would a kid be writing the lesson plan? That's the teacher's job, if you ask me. Uncle Gary was pointing at language arts, so I clicked. A boy and girl scooted onto the screen. They looked like they were drawn by little kids, too. I'm not very good at drawing, but I could have done a better job. I was starting to feel like I was in kindergarten. "I'm Darren," said the boy, in an annoying little kid voice. "And I'm Dara," said the girl, in the same voice, only higher pitched. "You picked language arts," they said together, sounding twice as annoying. "Ready? Get set! Learn!" The chalkboard disappeared, and a story opened like the pages of a book. "After you read the story, there will be a quiz," said Uncle Gary. "If you get enough answers right, it will let you move on to the next lesson. If you get too many wrong, you'll be prompted to reread the passages that caused you difficulty." "You really made this?" I asked. "Well, I did have a little assistance from some highly respected educational engineers," said Uncle Gary proudly. I should have mentioned that my cousin Nora was sitting about 3 feet away on the other side of a folding table in the middle of Uncle Gary's office. She obviously didn't need any help. She had her headphones on and was clicking away like she was getting paid a penny per click. She's 1 year older than me and about 2 inches taller. Uncle Gary had spent most of the ride from the airport telling me what an amazing student she was. According to him, she was the smartest girl in her class, the smartest girl in her school, maybe even the smartest girl in the whole country. And who knows, maybe he was right. I hadn't seen Nora since I was 5 years old, and I slimed her with a booger at somebody's wedding. I figured she'd just try to get me back. Hadn't she ever played booger tag? But she started crying, and I had to go sit in the car. I'm not exactly a good student, but I'm great at soccer and climbing and, well, lots of things. So far, Nora and I weren't hitting it off any better than last time. When Uncle Gary brought me from the airport, she looked at me like I was a birthday present she'd gotten 3 years in a row. And in the couple of hours since then, she'd been acting like she wished she could return me to the store. "Think you've got the hang of it, Brian?" asked Uncle Gary. Nora stopped clicking and looked up, like she was curious how I would answer. She reminded me of a scientist studying a chimpanzee. "Sure," I said. It didn't look that hard, even for me. "Great. Then I pronounce Summer's Cool officially in session." While I put on my headphones, Uncle Gary crossed the room, sat down at his desk in the corner, and started working on a computer with 2 big screens. He was the kind of guy who was hard to describe because there wasn't really anything you remembered about him. He didn't have glasses, or a mustache, or even very much hair on top of his head. If he got kidnapped and the police asked me what he was wearing, I wouldn't have had a clue. His office was the same way. It reminded me of the big office supply store I went to with my dad a few months ago when he needed to buy some new report covers for the deep space data he'd printed out. The store had all these fake offices set up that made me think of grown-ups playing work the way some kids played house. All Uncle Gary's office was missing was the price tags. The only thing that made it interesting at all was the old-fashioned model ships on top of the bookshelves. I especially liked a fast-looking one with a red smokestack. I wanted a closer look, but they were all out of reach, which I'm sure was the point. If I could, I would have climbed aboard that ship, raised a skull and crossbones flag, and steamed right out of boring Illinois forever.